Hey everybody, it's Base Mama, and we're here to do a short-ish update for the Save Emma and Cody uh, situation, I guess. I don't want to say the original or originating situation because then that gives notice where I don't want it to be, I guess. Yes, I'm being petty like that. Um, well, basically, I was like wondering because I heard that Rose and the kids were still in Maryland. So I was like, what the heck, what the heck is going on? Oh, you're blasting me out. um, I was wondering what the heck was going on and why the kids were still there, why Rose was still there. Like they should have all been home, right? Because they were supposed to be home middle of October last I heard. Save Emma and Cody. Whoa, turn it down. I'm gonna have to mute you, honey. Um, so I wanted to know why they were still there, and I started looking around, and then I figured out something that I feel like a massive idiot for not figuring out before. Yes, like, and Heather Martin did plead guilty to child neglect. So that means that the abuse case is still ongoing, which means they can't go home, which personally I think is BS because they're, I don't know how much about it I can say. Well, I've said it before. Um, hey, Nerd City. Uh, Rose is being required by CPS in Maryland to have a home and a job in Maryland, and also a home and a job in North Carolina. Now, why don't y'all sit there for a minute and tell me how y'all think that's gonna work out? Because that's pretty much what she's dealing with. So I'm like, they expect you to have a job and a house in two different places. So I know she's been having like a really hard time getting a job lately and keeping a job because, well, everybody knows who she is and they know she's not staying. So everybody's kind of like, well, I mean, you're qualified, but I don't want to give you a job because you're leaving when all this is over, right? So I can't really say that I blame them because, nobody wants an employee that they already know they can't keep, you know? Yes, Miastra, that sounds like your custody case. It should. It sounds just like mine, too. Mine was in Virginia. Sorry, I'm eating dinner. Um, Mine was in Virginia, and they made me stay there for 5 months. I had to provide, a safe and stable home for her in another state for 5 months, which means that my husband had to stay back here in Arizona and maintain this house. Like, if I had to do that by myself, or I had to like pay, for two homes, and it's retarded and it's ridiculous. But when I heard about it, like I got pissed, but there's really nothing you can do. If that's what they want from her, that's what she has to do. It's I think it's ridiculous because when okay, when you're in a custody case and you're having to deal with CPS, okay, what they're going to do is the like it's so aggravating. Okay, you're trying to have a job and stay in, some kind of stable home, right? And I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, but like I understand this because I had to do this and it's stupid and it's annoying and all it's going to do is run you out of money. But so they wanted me to provide a stable home and have a job, right? Okay. So I have a job, but then we're going to have all these meetings at, uh 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 11:30 in the morning or whatever. So I'd have to like, and they wouldn't tell me till that day. So I would have to go, hey, I have to go to this meeting with child services. And they're like, well, this is the second time this week. And I'm like, yeah, but there's nothing I can do about it. So then I end up losing that job. Gotta get another job. Like, it's a pain in the neck. And she's going through the same thing. And I know a lot of like fathers that have tried to fight for rights do the same thing. And it's such bull crap. Yep, 4 hour notice if you're lucky. I got told like an hour before or called from the office. Well, you have an appointment today. Where are you? Like, at work, because you want me to keep a stable job and you didn't tell me this was coming on. Mm, sorry. But So like, I don't know if how many of you guys are new. She was not bullied off YouTube. She just got caught in her lies. Anyway, I don't know how many of you guys know about the case, but just to give like a quick rundown, um, there was a family of YouTubers. Hey Hunter, there's a family of YouTubers called Daddyofive, and they had, quote prank channels where they would prank their kids, and some of them were fine, like, jump scare pranks or whatever, but then some of them were incredibly abusive. The kids were beating on each other, the dad was beating on the kids, the mom was screaming and swearing at the kids all the time. And having been really badly abused myself, I recognize their behavior and their body language, and I know that they weren't in on the joke. They were actually being abused, because when your body won't belie you, like your instantaneous reaction is instinctual. So when I could only watch like part of two of the videos. Like I couldn't stomach the rest of them, to be honest. Like it was really hard. I was asking people, like, give me the highlights, because I can't sit through it. Like I will just fall to pieces. And I was I saw that they were clearly being abused, and I got mad and I made an angry video like, you guys are pieces of shit and you're abusing your kids horribly. You're putting it up on YouTube. You're acting like you didn't do anything wrong. And then I thought the same thing everybody else thought. If that's the behavior you're proud of and put on display for the public, what's the behavior you're ashamed of that you hide from the public? Holy shit, how bad can these people be? Oh, they can be horrible. That's how bad they can be. So everybody started looking into it, and we found out some interesting information that I wish we would have known earlier. I mean, I knew that Cody and Emma's mom had reported to the police in North Carolina that her kids were being
Now
abused.
my face is up
Oh,
here. Okay, I saw you.
sorry. um,
Who's
hang on
this?
one. This Space Mama, hang on one
Oh,
second,
hey, I got
okay?
base mom.
Yep, hang on one
Yeah,
second. I'm just updating people on the situation real quick. So we found out that they had already been reported to CPS, not just by Rose. Rose was rebuffed and told that it was, quote, just corporal punishment, which was very upsetting. And then um, we found out that they had been either reported again, or that was part of that investigation. I'm not really sure, because uh, 10 days prior to the Philip DeFranco video breaking about them, they had another child abuse case closed against them. The case was brought up against them on the same videos and evidence that this new charge was brought up against them. Like it was like you had the same evidence, but you know, March, it's not abuse, but now that the internet is mad, oh, now it's abuse. Like all of a sudden, oh, okay, they had all the same information, they had access to all the same information. I myself, when I tried to call and report the abuse myself, the the CPS worker I talked to was actually belligerent about it. It was really weird to have somebody tell you that you can't report abuse because you don't know the people that you're reporting on. So I was like, fine, I'll just go call the state police then, and then you can see it on the news, you piece of shit. So, and I did actually make a video. I do have that recorded. And this asshole turned and tell me that I couldn't report child abuse. What a piece of crap. Sorry for you guys just joining us. The gentleman who has popped up here in the chat. I'm sorry, I'm trying to eat dinner while I'm talking. Is Rose Hall's dad, um, Robert. And let me, because I muted you real quick so I could. Oh, let me unmute you. Hang on one second. Oh, bugger. I'm trying to get this thing to unmute. Okay, you're gonna have to unmute yourself, actually. I'm sorry. You can tap the screen and it'll have the music.
Okay.
Yeah, there you
Can
go.
you hear me
Okay.
now?
Yeah, we can hear you. So we're just trying to. I was just trying to catch up because I have a lot of new subscribers recently, so I want to make sure that they're aware of like where we are now. So Mike and Heather were charged with criminal child neglect, which they pled guilt. Well, they didn't plead guilty. They did a plea deal called an Alfred plea, which means they don't admit to any wrongdoing, but they acknowledge that the state could confirm or could secure a prosecution.
Yeah, it's a joke.
Yeah. So, well, it's smart on their part, but I didn't realize that those charges weren't actually for the abuse, that they were for child neglect. So I didn't realize that the case was still ongoing because I was getting very irritated with why are they still there, you know?
Well, can I go back a little bit to how
Mm-hmm.
it started with our family here?
Oh, sure, yeah.
2.5 years ago, the videos popped up. We saw Emma and Cody on there going through some small things, and there was abuse going on. We called Baltimore County Department of Social Services and the police department after we called our local sheriff's department here in North Carolina. Sheriff's department here in North Carolina made a police report, took the video up to CPS up in town. They decided for themselves that it was child abuse going on. We then contacted the Baltimore County Police Department and from here, and they did. This was in 2016. They went and, just like you said earlier, they played it off like it was a joke. Called Baltimore County Child Protective Services. This is where they were living originally. And Baltimore County Child Protective Services told my wife that unless blood was coming out or they were dead, they weren't going to do nothing. Period. Just like you said a
Wow,
minute
that's
ago.
so comforting. Oh my God, I'm so glad to know that the children of Baltimore County are safe. Holy shit.
Yep. I mean, they dropped the ball completely. I called the county executive's office. I got a hold of some of the most rude, inconsiderate people you ever want to meet or talk to. And then it kept on going on. And then, bam, the big video surfaced a year later, this year, where the F-bomb was being dropped all over Cody. And then we had called up there again to Maryland and reported it. Maryland didn't do anything. This time it was the governor's office. They didn't do anything. And it went from there. Then Rose's attorney was found, and he came into the picture. We spoke to him. The man was very cordial, and he told me and my daughter and myself, Rose, to meet him. Mm-hmm. And we drove up to Maryland and met him the next morning. And we went to court where he filed charges against them, showing the judge about the videos that were going on, and the judge made a determination for an emergency protective order. And the children were taken away from Michael and Heather there. It was difficult that day for Rose and I, because Emma and Cody were told some very bad things about Rose and brainwashed. And they're still going through the therapy for all the things that them poor children had to go through. And they were brought down here. Then they were taken back up to Maryland the following weekend And Rose spent a beautiful time with the kids. And I got my timelines messed up. I'm sorry. This is the first time I've ever done anything like this. Taken back up there the same weekend, and then they spent the rest of the week with mommy.
Oh, it's fine. I know timelines are hard because they can move so fast, but yet so slow. It's just sort of a hurry up and wait thing.
It is. It's difficult. The only thing we're concerned with is our grandchildren and our daughter. Mm-hmm. Rose loves them so much, and she never stopped loving them, even though they were taken away from her wrongly. They didn't even know where they didn't even know where they were going, through a bunch of trumped up lies. And Emma and Cody were told their mother was dead, is what they told us.
Oh my God, really?
Yep.
Oh my God.
They said their mother did not. Like garbage and then died. They were thrown. That Rose had thrown them away like garbage, and she died.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was very difficult. It took a little while talking to Cody because Cody was most traumatized, and obviously you can tell why because of the other videos.
Yeah.
And Emma, she's such a loving, sweet child. I mean, her eyes light up, and both of them just make me feel at ease.
Her nickname is Pooh Bear.
I call Emma Pooh Bear and Cody Noggin because he kept headbutting you and all. And the main things we're concerned with is that the children get the right therapy and the right help that they need and the love from their mother that she gives them every day. She is with them, and every day she talks to them, and every day, every minute of every time.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I've talked to Rose and the kids, and I know, like, you can tell that they're happy and they feel like calm and safe when they're with their mom. Like, you know that they feel like they can trust her. And I think that says a lot because they didn't have a whole lot of time between hearings of, going home to North Carolina to have to go back up. But, just those few days, like, it was such a shift.
When they came down here to North Carolina, you would not believe the happiness that was out of them. When my grandson here saw Cody, he about flipped out.
He was so happy.
My grandson's autistic, and he was so happy. And every time he talks to Aunt Rosie on the phone, first thing out of his mouth is tell Cody blah blah this, blah blah that, blah blah. You can't even catch up with his words.
When you come home.
And Alexis, her and Emma just hooked up just like they'd never been apart. And the whole time they were here, it was just
pure bliss.
It was a pure bliss, as my wife would say. It was so happy and so peaceful. I've got a couple acres of ground so they can run forever. And that's the way we want them again, the way they used to be, with the love and the passion. I mean, Cody would crawl up on my lap and just sit there, and it was just like, wow.
But he don't like snow. Huh. No, he don't.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just listening.
Yep. He didn't like snow. No, when he left, he did not like snow. He laid down in the yard to make a snow angel and just got up screaming. Yeah, he did not like that.
It was too cold.
He didn't like going to Chuck E. Cheese either when they turned on the however you pronounce that.
It's fine.
Yeah, the things up on the stage. He used to flip out. He did not like that.
That was funny.
Well, and I have some questions from the people who are watching us right now. They wanted to, Melinda asked how long it was that Rose wasn't able to talk with the kids. And I know that was some time. I mean, they'd have to cut her off eventually if they're telling the kids she's dead. So
My wife can tell you that.
As long as I'm not on camera, because I'm in my nightgown.
She's in her nightgown.
I'll talk behind the phone. Oh.
You don't want to see that skinny legs anyways.
Well, what was the question now, y'all made me laugh?
Repeat your question.
I was asking how long it was that Rose wasn't able to talk to the kids.
Okay, Cody Joseph, when Mike took him, they did what they did. That's the only way I can phrase it. That was in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't see him since he took him out of here in 2014 from North Carolina. And then Emma was from December 1 of 2015 until now.
Until her and I went to the school and picked them up from school that April day. I think it was April 28th.
Yep.
Goodness.
Yes, ma'am. April 28th, we went to their school up there in where they're living, and with the sheriff's department, and picked them up. And that's when they decided to announce to the sheriff's department that they were told she was dead, and she threw them away.
Jeez, man.
It was traumatizing.
Okay, because I know I was looking into the cases between them in North Carolina, and we actually had a couple of other YouTubers dig in to find out that the judge and two of the lawyers involved are under review for misconduct. So I was like, oh, yeah. Okay,
under review too.
Yeah. We saw that. So because everybody has the questions. Custody favors the mother. Why doesn't she have them, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to look into it, and you want to make sure that everything.
It was a kangaroo court.
Yeah,
it was a kangaroo court that day. I mean, the day we went into court, Rose was outnumbered. Mike and Heather were there. Well, the other people were there, I'll say. Mm-hmm. And the one person sat in the back of the courtroom where she could not get up because she wasn't the biological mother, and kept texting his lawyer the whole time what to say and what to do and all this other stuff.
Well, it's not technically
the whole time. And the judge that issued the order to remove Emma from the house, like they did, it was done on a weekend, on a holiday weekend, and the other judge that was there asked why there was an investigation done, and they said the judge did not order an investigation, just take the child.
The judge didn't order an investigation? That is...
Just take the child.
That was Judge Banks.
Oh, that's the correct guy, yeah. Oh, I wouldn't...
One of the judges that was part of that whole thing, Finch. Retired.
Yep.
He left there. He was the one that ordered the removal of Emma illegally. And then when we demanded that they do an investigation on the allegations that were made, CPS in Martin County and the Sheriff's Department investigator came down and looked over the whole house. All the allegations that were made, none of them were true. Not one bit. And they wrote a report out. Not one of the allegations were true. But Judge Banks refused to reverse the order of taking Emma from the home and awarded her to Michael and Heather.
That's... Yeah.
They're crooked.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. There's quite a few judges, and there is a lot of lawyers that are under review for pulling stuff like that.
Yep.
And
it wasn't.
And then every time Rose tried to find a good attorney to cover her case,
Heather talked to
what they had done prior to that is they had called every attorney per recommendation, and every attorney had to recuse themselves because they were familiar with what was going on.
Yeah, my ex did that too. It took me about a year to find a lawyer who could take the case because he moved to the area.
My wife wants to say something.
I have something to say about Judge Banks, and maybe I shouldn't, but when in October, I can't remember what year, it might have been of 15, with Emma, Rose had major surgery, and they didn't even want to see that paperwork, but I forced the issue. And basically almost got myself locked up, which we've never done. This whole family.
Contempt.
Is squeaky clean. But I forced that issue for him to look at the papers from the hospital and the surgeon and everybody else. Because she had to have everything removed because of all the tumors or whatever they were. I don't know if they were tumors or huge cysts like baseball size.
So she had to have emergency surgery. And they said that Rose was not able to take care for her children.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Seriously. Well, see, I found the whole thing I found interesting. I use that term loosely. Was that from the time the kids were little and her and Mike broke up, he had no contact with them until
he never tried.
And Amy forced it and was like, "You need to do this." And then as soon as he and Amy split up, he was back to not caring anymore. So that was what was really frustrating to me, is like, why come at it this way? Why go on the attack? Why sabotage her chances of finding, adequate representation? Like, why? They didn't even seem like they cared. And from their own videos, it doesn't seem like they cared.
They didn't. The only thing they saw was dollar signs.
It's just aggravating.
That's all they saw. They saw dollar signs because, that increased income to their household. And then, bam, because he doesn't like to work for a living, he went on YouTube, and then they saw bigger dollar signs. And
that's a job.
That is what his lawyer in the court said. Mike has a job. What's his job? He said YouTube. And the whole courtroom erupted in laughter and said, "That's not a job."
The judge said that.
Well, I
and
can't
the judge said that too.
Now, because I'm a YouTuber. But
I know.
You're a different story, because you probably are physically able to go out there and willingly to go out there and work. He worked for me.
Abdominal neuralgia.
He worked for me a short time in the construction industry. And he couldn't get along with nobody.
Yeah, I could see that.
He could not get along with anybody.
Well, I wanted to get to where we're at right now, because Mike and Heather lost custody of the kids.
Yes, ma'am.
Rose has custodial rights, which seems very vague, but I'm guessing that they're in a transition period right now, because I do know that I'm pretty upset with CPS myself. Like, I'm actually furious, because they knew about this for a year before they actually did anything about it. They had at least 2 different cases open against them for what was going on their channel. And it wasn't until, seriously, it was not until the internet got mad enough that they were on the news. And that's when they decided to do something. And I was very, very angry about that. But I wonder, it would be speculation, but I do wonder if they're trying really, really hard to white glove this and do absolutely everything before they release the kids. So they can't say, "You can't blame us anymore."
I don't know if it's "you can't blame us anymore," or they've realized how deep and how traumatized the children were. I mean, I can agree with you on some things because we've been dealing with this a long time, but I also feel that maybe they know they made a mistake by neglecting the problem in the first place.
Right.
But now they're coming to the point where they realize the problem is worse than it was, as far as the emotional instability. Yeah, as far as the emotional instability of the kids and all. Cody is a very emotional child. He loves his mother so much. He loves his whole family so much.
Oh,
and
you can
all.
tell. You
And
can tell when he and Rose are together. You can really, really, really tell that
oh yeah,
his whole demeanor changes. He's totally relaxed. He's very jovial and happy.
when we went up there to visit,
Mhm.
I've had 3 heart attacks since
Oh
July,
God.
the end of July, and it's mainly about a lot of because of this. Because as a matter of fact, the first one I had was the day after our first visit with them when they were in CPS. We went to visit them at the CPS building and were able to spend some time. I don't know exactly how long it was, but the first thing Cody, when he walked into the building,
We are the best.
and he said to me, Miss So and so told me we were going to have a surprise. And I thought it was a present. And I put my arms out and I said, I'm your present. And he hugged me and he said, and I'll never forget these words, you're better than a present, Poppy.
That's what he told me too.
And I cried. I did. He hugged me so tight and said, you are better than a present.
Bless his heart.
And all. And it made me boo-hoo.
It can make me do the same. I tend to project a rough exterior, but I'll cry when somebody hugs me and says they love me. I will.
And when I talk to him, every time I talk to him on the phone, it's the same thing. I can't wait. I love you, blah, blah. I mean, it's tough. It's tough.
They want to come back home.
And they just want to come back home. But I want them to come home feeling the best they can and all. And if there's reasons why they have to go through the therapy right now, I don't know. I don't know all the things because I'm not there, not present at them. But it needs to come out.
It does. Well, the reason that I wanted to do the stream was to make sure that people understood what was going on, because I was getting very, very like something is rotten in the state of Maryland about why.
Well, it always has been.
Well, because the time to go home just kept getting further and further and further out, and Rose doesn't know, like, if you're going home next month. No, yeah, you're going home next month, and then we get to the next month, and it's like, oh well, we need another month, and then oh no, we need another month, and I can understand why she would be just kind of going bananas, because she just wants to go home.
She is, because it's frustrating to her too. She calls down here to mommy and myself.
I hate it here.
And the first words out of her mouth is, I hate it here.
I'm not leaving without my children.
But I'm not leaving without my children.
Well, I mean,
she told me that she would rather live on the street to have her children than to be without them.
Well, that would not help.
And without the help of you all and what little bit we've had, she would not have been able to survive. Every day's a challenge. We took her up a car last week and then it broke down. And I wasn't happy with that.
No. We took it up on the
it drove perfectly on the way up.
We took it up on the 14th.
But after we got home, she calls us up and said it broke down. I'm like, huh? But
that's the challenges of a used car.
I mean, I wished I could have bought her a new one, but I couldn't buy her a new one. I had to get her a used one. She got the money up for it through help. I wished I could have picked a better one, but hey, that one ran pretty darn good for me, and it ran all the way up there. And that, you know, I mean, things like that happen.
When you're buying somebody else's.
And,
yeah.
you know, I have to admire and respect my daughter more so than I ever did, because she's a lot tougher. My wife says she gets it from me.
Yeah, she's a tough cookie.
She's tough. She's a hard head like her father, argumentative like her father.
But a good mother.
But she's a fantastic mother like her mother. I mean, she's never in her life ever reached out, and when she was raising the kids, she never called us and said, I need money for this. I need this for this. I need that for that. She would say, hey, look, when are you all coming up to Oxford? We're going to have dinner. And then she moved down here. You coming up the house tonight? We're going to have dinner. We're having fried chicken, which she knows I love. She never reached out and said, hey, what can you do for me?
Yeah.
She's not like that. She would give more of herself than anybody I've ever seen. And
yeah, she does.
A lot of time,
she's in such a bad spot, and if I tell her I'm sick, she's like, "Oh, I wish I could do something for you." I'm like, "Why are you worrying about me? Worry about you."
That's Rose.
That's Rose.
I mean, she calls her mother and tells her something's going on, and tells her mother not to tell me because of the issues I've had lately. Because she doesn't want me to have another heart attack, you know, and all. And then Shirley, I'll sit down. She says, "Are you calm?" Yeah. I got to tell you this. I said, wait a minute, let me get my pills just in case. And I make a joke of that, you know, because I hate being like this. But Rose, she thinks of everybody else before she thinks of herself.
Yeah.
And that's the way she's always been. And now it's just her kids. She'd rather go without and do for them. And that's the way she is.
She's always been like that. It's just the way she was raised. All of them are raised to be a good person.
Well,
that's
pretty rare.
Yeah, we tried the best we could. I got two good daughters. Both of them are hard-headed. Both of them are strong. And both of them are emotional. And both of them are good mothers. Absolutely fantastic mothers. I couldn't ask for anything better and all. And that's why I would say if I only had my life to give for them, I would.
One thing my daughter gets from me is taking care of people. And when my left hip collapsed, my daughter made sure I had my showers, and I had to take needles every day to keep my blood thin because I've had 2 strokes and a heart attack myself. But she made sure that my wounds were clean, and I got bathed, and she cooked our meals and took care of her children because she's the only one that was tough stomach. And then she took care of Miss Scale until her last breath, which is she worked for the Nature Refuge from the time she was 11 years old up until, I can't think of when Miss Scale died, 2015?
2015, I think.
2015, I think she died the night before Christmas. And
Rose was there by her side.
Rose stayed by her side. She takes after me. I've taken care of every family member I could take care of till they died, and including my husband's mother. We brought her down here, and I took care of her until she took her last breath. And that's the way Rose is.
She would rather give of herself than to take something.
Yeah.
And you yell at her and say, Rose, you need this, you need that. And she'll say, no, I got to get something for Emma, or I got to get something for Cody, or I got to do something for Mom, or Crystal needs this. You know, I mean, there's so many things. You know, it's always somebody else pops out of her mouth before it does her.
And none of our children have ever been in trouble with the law, and they all walked off stage. To this day, nobody's been in trouble with the law.
I had the first grandchild to walk off stage in my family in 30 years.
Yeah. And that's Crystal, and that Rose.
And then Rose. So, and I proud of them till today. And I'll always be proud of them.
Cyberpunk asked if there was any way to get Rose on as well. I'd like to say hi and tell her she's wonderful. I will pass the message along. Rose is at work right now.
Yeah, she's working again. She cleans at nighttime too. And my God, clean.
2 jobs. Okay, sorry. Well, last I heard, she had just gotten she just had the one assisting job. I didn't know she had another job at night. Go get it.
No,
that's 2 nights. That's 2
she
nights a week.
cleans 2 nights a week for a doctor's office.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 2 nights a week.
But I do know she is struggling big time because it's so expensive in the state of Maryland.
It cost her double to live up there than it did down here.
Frederick is one of the most expensive places to live in Maryland. Like my grandmother.
The place she's living at. The place she's living at isn't as big as half of my house.
Actually,
not even. I could put it in our house here maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And all it's the bedrooms are small.
It looks like a cracker box.
It is. It looks like a cracker box, and she's got to pay all that rent. And I don't know what utilities cost. I know they're high.
Oh, yeah,
because of taxes up there in the state. Yeah, taxes in the state of Maryland. My mother lived up there, and she paid more for a postage stamp than I do for 3 acres of ground here in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And the house and the 2 garage front.
Yeah, the Cyberpunk was asking, when does she get to go home? What's the hold up CPS? Well, the hold
when
up
does she what?
When does she get to go home? She was supposed to already been home.
Yep.
But they have not finished. Go ahead.
They said before Thanksgiving, but then for some reason it's going back to court December 13th. And then they said she can hand back Christmas, and the last I heard it's March. Because of something. I don't know.
Yeah, they're talking about March. They just came up with some reason that Rose may have to stay there till March. And Rose can't tell us.
Because she's not supposed to discuss, aspects of the investigation or whatever, because it involves money. Yeah.
There has been another gag order issued.
There's been another one?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh my God.
Pertaining only to the stuff that's happening now.
Great. So they have a reason. Oh, we've got the super good reason, but you can't, you can't say what it is. Okay.
No, but it is a super good reason.
Well, I'll take your word for it.
Well, unfortunately, I wish I could give you something, but I can't.
Now, I know the kids are there on weekends now.
Yeah, they're kids, they're babies. They deserve to be protected. I'm not going to push you on that one at all. But
now, we've met the foster parents that they stay with during the week, and I'm not going to mention their names, but they are they go over and above what they have to as a foster parent. And they made a letter out for Rose that they read in the court this last hearing, and it was all Rose needs to have her children back. Rose needs to be with her children. The children need to be with mommy, and they need to go home.
Yeah.
That's what
they should already. I mean, the first I heard, they were supposed to be home by the middle of October. Then it was the end of October. Then it was by Thanksgiving. Then it was by Christmas, and now it's March. So, as is common with abuse cases, more and more comes out as the kids become more comfortable in their relative safety. So they'll start talking about more. So it's tough. I don't, and we're possible for them to motion for the, home checks and things after this I guess investigation. I guess that's what they're doing. To to go home, but are they needing the kids to stay there for interviews and evaluations and things, or I don't know if you can even talk about that actually.
I think it's just evaluations, but as I said, I can't say what little bit I know, but I don't know it all. Rose is upset.
She's not allowed to talk.
And she's not allowed to talk about it, even though she would love to tell mommy and daddy. But I think the only other reason she doesn't tell us what's going on is because of me.
Well, I mean, she wants to. Now, how long ago was it? Because I know that Rose was cleared by CPS a long time ago.
Oh, heck yeah. She went through all kinds of interviews.
Well, I know that she thought she was going home like months ago. That's why I didn't even know they were still there until she was like, well, we're still here. We're going to be here another month. And I'm like, why aren't you already home? Like,
I wish.
What the heck? So she's like, well, I can't talk about it. She didn't say anything, but I'm like, what's going on over there? Like, everybody's
Rose has been to North Carolina one time since she's been up there.
Yes.
And that was for my birthday. She came down. And she scared the living daylights because I was sleeping in my granddaughter's bed because they were having a slumber party. And
that was priceless.
She came in. She went up to my other daughter's job and walked in and scared her. And then they came here and knocked on the door and woke mommy up and scared my wife, scared mommy. And then she came out there and got me. And I think she posted it on Facebook or something. I just cried and held on to her and cried and cried.
Have you all seen that video of my dumbfounded look?
It was priceless and all. And she came down for 2 days and then went back up there to where she could be up there. And she only came down for the birthday party.
Jeez. Yeah, I have a pal in the chat.
They're stuck there.
No, he was saying it sounds pretty normal because custody cases are so ugly, and it really does.
Yeah.
And, like I said, I was in another state for 5 months, and that was, a quote high priority case. And if they've, got the kids out of immediate danger, they're not going to consider this a high priority case. So they're going to, it's not going to be, okay, we want to see you back here in 2 weeks or a month or whatever. It's going to be whenever the judge has time.
And I know her attorney's doing everything he possibly can. And you got to give the man credit. He's not getting a nickel. He took this on pro bono and he stuck it out the whole time. And he's been there for Rose for everything, answered any questions we may have had. And, I've got to leave the judgment up to the judge and the people responsible for this and pray that.
She said a lot of nice things to Rose at the court we went to on the 15th of this month, and Rose cried.
The judge commended Rose, from what Rose told us, commended Rose for her intestinal fortitude and strength, I think is what they referred to it. Rose looked at me and said, "What's intestinal fortitude?" I said, "How strong you are and how tough you are."
How much guts
and all. The judge commended her for being like that and being so strong and sticking it out for her children.
I'm sure it's got to be mind-numbing. Well, I've got some questions that I wanted to ask you. Melinda, who's here in the chat, she's wanting to ask you questions. She's in the stream with us, but her mic isn't working. So she's in my chat. She said, Robert, is Mike fighting for custody?
No.
Yeah, I bet not.
Can they hear you?
They can hear me, but Melinda's mic's not working.
Oh.
She said.
do you like? Has he just said like he's done, or he's just not fighting right now, or like, is it something that he might try again?
No, he said he wants it over. He's done with it. He don't want to see him, and he don't want any parts of it.
He wants
I would
out
make
from
sure
under.
to
He
get that
wants
in
to make his
paper.
quick getaway.
I'm just saying, I would make sure to get a signature on that declaration right there.
Yeah, I know. But and then his supposedly he's afraid of me and Rob. The only thing I would do to him is hang around his neck as like a necklace. But
Yeah, he won't come around because he's afraid of my wife and myself. 'Cause
that's funny.
at 61 years old, we're so tough and mean.
You should be afraid of all the people who
everything I
hate him.
got-
I'd be more afraid of the internet than anybody in my real life.
The
Yeah,
only thing we got is walking canes and a walker. So
I might give him an enema.
I wouldn't stand in your
I mean,
way.
I want it over with too, but I want the kids and Rose to be.
Yeah, we want it
Healthy
over
when
with
they
too,
get back.
but we want it over with the right way. We don't want them to come back with a bunch of baggage. And that's the only word I can call it, baggage, to where they're not ready and all. We know that they're going to probably have to have counseling after they get here
Well, yeah.
on a long term, but initially we want the best of it done now.
Yeah, you want to make sure that you're getting that the intense therapy, as quickly as you can and things like that. I understand that. Now, Melinda's asking, do you know about the protection order being dropped? I do not. Hey, the protection order.
We had heard about the protection order being dropped, but
we didn't know if it was true.
We did not know if it was true because when we heard about the protection order being dropped, we brought it to the attention of Rose's CPS worker.
Well, because now she's exposed.
Yeah, I know. She was exposed. And we don't know why the protection order was dropped.
I mean, maybe it's because he said he was done or whatever. I don't know, but she's been under threat from him, his friends, his crazy psycho fans. He knows where she lives because her address is on the paperwork. And
they know where we live.
Well, I knew about that before because I remember being on the phone with Rose and getting the ever living bejesus scared out of me when
my daughter
was banging on the wall.
Her sister works at a convenience store, and a psycho FamilyOFive fan walked in a hoodie and threatened her and yelled, "Daddyofive, we're going to get you," and ran out of the store and got in his car, out-of-state license plate, and left.
And Crystal called us panicking.
I mean, that happened here. And
you have to report.
Yeah.
It was reported. There was a report filed and all on that.
Which would have been the city police.
But they couldn't get a good ID on the person because he had a hoodie on and he didn't show his face.
You could see his nose and mouth.
All you could see was his nose and mouth, and nobody caught the license plate. And plus, he has friends down here.
So Melinda was saying the protection order came off the same day that the gag order was lifted. Okay, that's from the sheriff's office. So the gag order comes off, and then so does the protection order.
Except for the protection order is still on children.
But the protection order, from what we gather, is still on Emma and Cody. And I think Rose has got to go down and get a protection order of her own or something like that, or get with her social worker about getting the protection order on her reinstated. Because there's already been some attempted damage to her automobile up there in Maryland.
Oh, God. These people are nuts. I mean,
and you can't hide the car because it's the only one there that has North Carolina tags.
Well, true. But Nerd City, who was here with us in the chat, he actually did a very thorough, very extensive video on the Daddyofive fans, and they are absolutely bananas.
They are. They're psychos. But have you read? Has anybody ever read some of the tweets or comments that are made during some of the videos? They're not only fanatics, but they're sickos.
They are absolute sickos, and they. I mean, it was. I can understand why, like, I can understand why the investigation is still ongoing. Like, I can't, because when we found out about this, this broke, and we thought that it was bad enough that they were doing this and they had such a big channel, but we then found out that they had their own web page where people could pay to make suggestions of things that they wanted to do to the kids, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And I
didn't see any of that, and God help me if I would have seen some of the things. You know, I don't know what I would have done back then.
Probably bomb it.
I saw some of the comments and suggestions that were made, and I mean, it was sick. It was sick.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again. Melinda said the sheriff said there's no protection order for Rose or for the kids. Tim Conlon agreed to drop it in the same day the courts dropped the gag order. Have Rose double check on that.
Yeah, I will.
I
will.
Now I'm like, oh God.
I really didn't know that. I really didn't know that. But I will make sure that Rose checks it.
Yeah. Oh God, that makes me terrified for the kids. I mean, these people are nuts, man. They were saying stuff like, "We're gonna find you and we're gonna steal your kids and bring them back to Daddyofive," which, well, apparently he didn't want them. So I don't like Mike.
No, he's not a likable person.
I'm trying very hard to be polite.
He's not a likable person. He's a violent person because he abused my daughter when they were together. He did abuse his own children before he left her. Verbally, he would scream at him, get the F out of the way, because they were in the way of his playing video games. Mm. You know, Rose, come get your effing children, and stuff like that.
Sorry.
And
it's just like, you know, generally I'm a pretty happy person. YouTube is usually the place where I go to vent, but this is depressing. Like, I feel so bad for the kids. I feel so bad for Rose. I understand that they've been making her have an apartment or a house in North Carolina that she has to like keep all the time while she's trying to keep a place in Maryland, which I think that's a ludicrous demand. I really do.
She has to maintain a residence here, and luckily we know the people that she's renting from, so they're very nice farmers. And she has to have a house up there. She has to live up there. She has to have a job up there. She has to have an automobile. These are, I mean, I can understand wanting and stuff like that, but you know, it's do this or else type thing.
CBS never talked about.
You know, that's how I feel. I don't know if they said it, but you know, for her to maintain two places, it's difficult. It is extremely difficult. Luckily, the electricity's not running, you know, on high. Now we got to turn on the heat to keep the pipes from freezing, you know, because it's starting to get chilly down here. But we've only had to do it one time. And during the summer, we really didn't run the air conditioning there because nobody was there. And luckily she's on well water, so she doesn't have to pay a water bill, but
Yeah.
she's still got to pay rent and electric. And up there, she, has to pay for food,
Hmm.
clothing,
Electric,
rent,
gas,
electric,
car payments, car
While
insurance.
you're,
gas.
it's just she's. I understand because I've had to do this. You're in a completely different state. You're trying to get a job. They know that you're leaving, so they're like, well, why should I hire you? Because you're just gonna leave. It was so
Yeah.
impossible. I ended up having to work for a doctor that my mom went to church with, because that was the only way that that I could have a job. It was so difficult. It's
That's
just
what the problem is now up there.
That's what the problem is up there, because it's like, well,
I beg
why do you want
woman.
this job? And she tells them the truth. I need this job so I can support my family and all. Are you going to, and then she'll slip and say, until I go back home.
Mhm.
And
I actually talked to the one lady and asked her.
it's like, when you go back home, what do you mean when you go back home? And she said, I'm only here for such and such and all. And when it's over with, I'm going home. And they're like,
where's home? And she goes to North Carolina.
and they hesitate. They don't want to work you. They don't want to hire you. It's difficult.
yeah.
And then she had a job at Walmart for a short time, and then she started having people come up to her saying, you're from the Daddyofive fame and all. And then she was getting attacked by the Daddyofive fans in her job.
And she freaked out.
Gosh.
So it's difficult. She's got to work in a type of atmosphere to where she doesn't have to deal with the people that are in his fan base. And just like Emma and Cody, when they go to school, I don't know. I mean, Cody was so widely seen. He was basically the star.
Everybody knows who he is.
Yeah. And so what makes you think somebody hasn't said something to him in the atmosphere of the school? I don't know.
Nobody knows this.
Yeah, I mean, well, because this stuff gets around. If a kid's, got a YouTube channel or been on YouTube or anything like that, it's
I mean, I live in a little town, a small town here, and people have come up to me and said, I saw your daughter on YouTube.
gosh, that would be miserable.
Okay. And these people know me, and they'll say, and we saw her with a little heavyset guy. That's what they called Mr. Conlon. And was talking about that thing. And then my wife and I sat down and we watched one of them videos, and they'll say, we're praying for you.
Yeah.
And I said, thank you very much. I haven't heard anything derogatory, towards her, except from the illiterate idiots that like his stuff.
Yeah. Well, Melinda was saying that she was just letting people know in the chat that someone threatened to put Rose's address all over Mike's YouTube channel, and then less than a week later, people were calling and banging on Rose's door, and so they
Yes.
Yep. Rose called us. She has a habit. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say that made sense because before all of this even broke, when I was on the phone with Rose and y'all were there that night when they started banging on the alarm went off, and it scared the ever living crap out of me. I'm telling you. Sounds like his little cabal of friends that go and hassle people and bother her and bother Crystal.
They've had to increase the police have increased their presence in that area since that happened. Out of respect for the family and all, they've increased their presence where Rose lives. And yes, Rose was on the phone with her mother one night when that happened, and she's asking her mother what to do, and her mother hung up, told Rose to call the police, and her mother hung up and called the police down here. I mean, up there in Frederick from here and all.
Yeah.
But they have, from what we have been told, they have increased their police presence around Rosie's house. I mean, they can't stay there 24/7.
But we have a bunch of police that live up the street from us. So they were out here pretty quick that night that happened while Crystal, I think, was talking to you.
Yeah. And here, we have, the sheriff's department lives right up the street, and I have my nephew lives here with me.
Nephew?
Yeah, my 9mm.
Oh.
And so, you know, the police were down here within minutes of that happening, and they looked all around the house. They even brought their canine down here and was picked up a scent and going toward the woods, but then they lost it back there in the woods. So, and it was dark, so they couldn't, you know, when you get back there in the woods, you can get lost.
Yeah. I would.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, yes, Nerd City will be on here for a little bit. We're just we're trying to make sure that we're questions, because I know that Rose is now back under yet another gag order, so she can't talk about it. I swear they are really good at making sure she can't talk.
I know.
Very aggravating.
Well, give us what questions we can answer. If we can't answer them, we'll tell you we can't.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Trey's SD said that she was foster parent for years. It seemed strange they wouldn't just let her take them home after they arranged for services in her home area.
I don't understand why they won't. They have not answered that question, and we've asked them the same thing.
What's that?
Why Rose could not have brought them home here and got under care with.
Because somebody had to initiate that, and I don't know if it would have been maybe her attorney.
Yeah, well, the case is also still being investigated. They haven't closed their
investigation.
Investigation. And Melinda was saying, why hasn't the case been referred to North Carolina CPS?
Right.
I don't know the reasoning. I've personally called the governor's office and asked that question. They sent me a nice form letter and all saying that investigation is pending. We cannot talk to anybody about it. This was when the original gag order was in effect and all, and we were to refer to Rosie's attorney. And that's it. That's it. Matter of fact, I called the governor's office yesterday or the day before yesterday again, because I call them right regularly, and I tweet them right regularly too. I bet they think I'm a nightmare. And the guy that I spoke to, he was a very cordial young man. Mm-hmm. Extremely polite. I raised my voice a little bit, but I told him if I was really yelling, you wouldn't have been able to get in a word. But he told me the same thing, that it was under a gag order and they could not talk about it.
Yeah,
a new gag order, and they couldn't talk about it. And all. And I said, well, why can't my grandchildren and my daughter come home? I basically told them they were holding my family hostage. And that's how we feel. We feel that at times we think that Rose is the one being punished for something she never did. That she is the one that is, when they should have been focusing their attention somewhere else, she is the one that has been subject to the scrutiny and all this other stuff, and yet she's got a clean record, never been arrested, never been investigated by anybody,
Never been in trouble.
never been in trouble. She's been a good girl.
Yeah.
And I brought that
sorry,
question up to them.
There's some more questions in the chat. Teresa was saying, are they with Rose or in foster care? And does Mike have visitation? I can tell you, Mike doesn't have visitation because Mike doesn't give a shit.
No, Mike doesn't have visitation, and it's both foster care and Rose.
So they're
they in
doing the
foster care?
part-time. Oh, are they in mandatory mental health?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's because they have like a certain period of mandatory mental health care, so they have like it's dumb how they do it. But yeah, they
Rose. Yeah, Rose, I think, as a matter of fact, I think they're going to be with her this weekend, staying with her.
There.
They're there with her this weekend and all.
I can hear them laughing and carrying on.
But, and they just started that. But they're with both. And I trust them with the foster parents. As I said, I met them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're good people.
What does the foster parents think about this whole situation and Rose and everything?
We don't know for sure.
We don't know because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. So I've never posed that question to them. I met the foster mother twice. Extremely nice person. I mean, yes, I can't say anything. I can't say anything higher. And I met the foster father once, and they're just plain good people. That's all I can say.
Okay, yeah, Measter was saying that their case took 2 years to get out of mandatory mental health. So, okay, see that? Well, she was under the gag order before, and then there was a rumor, the kids are in CPS custody, but she was saying, no, I have custody rights, and I was like, that doesn't mean anything. Like I'm like, okay, but now I understand, because if they're on a mental health therapy and evaluation track, they have to be evaluated sort of on the scene, and they have to find out if there's any more abuse that they don't know about. They have to find out how deep the abuse goes. They have to make sure that they're mentally capable to handle a change in, being in a new place. And yeah, I understand. It's part of, Sandra was saying it's part of the custody protocol.
It's more, you've explained to me more than I knew. And I appreciate that.
My daughter didn't, she didn't have to do that. But I was like, he's like, that explains a lot. And I'm like, what does that explain? And then I'm like, oh, duh, it's the mandatory mental health protocol. Like, they have different names for it in different states or whatever. But yeah, if Cody's been abused to that degree or worse, because, that's why I keep saying, like, I can understand if they have to have a lot of mental health care, because that is what we saw, is what we were proud to show you.
Right. Just look at the Daddyofive videos.
Yeah.
When they were up, you could see.
What are they ashamed of?
You could see the abuse he was going through and the things that he was going through and all. And you could see the trauma and all in his face, and they call it acting. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad that you came on and we can talk, and we can clear this up, because I know it's got to be really, really hard to be in her position. She's just hurting to get by.
Yeah.
And she can't even tell you, like, here's what's going on, this is why I need help and things like that. Like, she can't even say that, because we were doing the best we could for her. But the thing is, when you can't say anything, there's nothing you can say. Like, you're just...
Yeah, I mean, if you can't talk about it, people don't understand. It's like, a reporter out on the street. We got a call from a reporter here in North Carolina when the gag order was in effect. And they said, yeah, we want to know about this. I said, I can't talk about it. Yeah, and they called 3 or 4 times, and I said, I can't talk about it. you know, it's difficult, you know. I wish I could give the people out there more information than I have.
There's another gag order.
And, you know, things like that. What I can ask them is just pray for Rose and Emma and Cody and pray for their healing. And if they can help in any way, please.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I just feel so bad for them because it's
really hard.
bad. I mean, it's making more sense. I'm everything seemed to me. I know I'm not. This is not a conviction of Rose. Please understand that. But she was so kind of cagey about answering questions that I had, and they were charged with neglect. The abuse investigation is still ongoing. I have said this like 4 times. Either get in the stream and pay attention or get out. I know that she was real cagey and dodging my questions because she's like, well, I can't really talk about that. And I'm like, but okay, but I need to know. And she's like, I can't talk about it. So I'm like, okay. So you're trying to make inferences sort of on her tone, maybe, which is not great for that. So I'm glad that you guys could come and talk and like actually, let us know what was going on, because it was really difficult to kind of suss out, what was going on.
It's difficult for Rose too because we've never had any secrets between me, her father, or Crystal. We've always been there for each other and has always talked about everything. And there's never been any secrets. And she's always been up front. If something she didn't like, she'd sit and talk to you about it. But then she started acting odd, and I said, Rose, what is wrong? And she says, Mama, I can't talk about it. I said, okay.
Yeah, you have.
But I know it's hard for her because it eats her up.
I'm sure, because I'm sure she would love to vent and tell you what's going on and cry to you a little bit.
Yeah.
And she's just got to sit there and go, well, I really want to tell you, but I can't tell you.
But every time we go up there, she's like a bull in a china shop.
Oh, gosh.
And, like, we don't even know where she came from when we got up there on the 14th because she liked to knock us down.
When we took the car up there, I didn't even get the key out of the ignition, and she was storming down the sidewalk.
She must have been staring out her bedroom window.
Probably was, not Rose.
Yeah.
That's my baby.
The boys are supposed to.
She's got a nickname, too.
Oh, don't say it. She'll get upset with us.
She's got a nickname, too, but
we promised her we wouldn't let that.
I won't let that nickname out.
No.
I love you, Bug.
All right. Rose is not here because Rose is under a gag order as well as at work. And am I saying they are going to convict them again? Yeah, they could under different charges. That's why the investigation is still ongoing.
I pray they do.
I hope so. I mean, it looks like there's she's stuck on the gag order though. Like, I hate that because I'm sure as soon as she got to a point where she was like, okay, I can talk about it now, she didn't know that the gag order had even been dropped because it was dropped on August 17th, Melinda was saying, and she didn't even know. She didn't know that the gag order was dropped, and she didn't know until Tim told her because he wanted to make the video. And then she didn't know that the protection order had been dropped the same time. So it's just crazy. They are not suing Google, and they are not suing Mark. No, CPS is continuing their investigation of the abuse. They have not finished that.
They dropped the protection order. My feeling is it was a deal to drop the gag order was drop the protection order. And I'm not sure, but I think that's what happened.
We're speculating.
Right.
I think it was one of them things. I'll drop the gag order if you drop the protection order.
Yeah, Nerd City was
Proceeding.
what Nerd City was asking that he heard that you were removed from the court at the request of the attorneys last time. Do you have any inclination why?
They didn't want anybody in there. They did not give us reason. Um, we didn't even have a chance to sit down. His words were they did not want anybody, and Mike's attorney didn't want anybody in there that was not directly associated with the case. So that
Stop being
left
a
it
Nerd
up.
City.
So that left it up to only
Sorry.
the CP and foster parents and representatives. Those were the only ones in there. I think one of the reasons were they didn't want reporters in there either.
Right. Okay. So I'm trying to make sure that we're answering people's questions, and I have a pain in the neck in here moderating people and banning them. I have to unban them. And Maggie Matlock, who I assume thinks she's the best attorney in the whole wide world, is saying that's not how it works. Yeah, that is how it works. They're continuing the investigation. The kids are under mandatory mental health, and they will have to do that for quite some time. And that is why they're not letting her go home so far as we know. We don't know what their new investigation is about. We don't know what it is that they're looking into. All we know is that they have an open investigation. The kids are still in mental health care, and there's a gag order, so Rose can't talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not the queen of the court, so I can't tell you this stuff, but I don't know why, the judge decided to institute a new gag order and drop the protective order. That's just bizarre to me. But yeah, now there's the gag order and no protective order for the kids and Rose. Because
as a matter of fact, the new gag order went into effect the same day I called the governor's office this past week.
Right. It was it's to me, I understand that this kind of stuff happens, but it is very, it just seems so dumb. Okay, they were not convicted. They pled an Alford plea. So if
what an Alford plea is,
that means that they are not admitting that they actually did anything wrong, but they are saying that the prosecution could secure a conviction if they pursued it. So basically, it's yeah, sure, you could definitely convict us for this, but we're not admitting guilt. It's
We need to watch more Cops.
And my wife tells me I need to watch more Cops.
I've heard of the Alfred plea. He needs to watch.
No,
I thought Alfred plea was the guy from Batman.
No, I mean, people who haven't done, who aren't guilty of stuff have put it in too, just because it's easier to plead out and walk away than it is to fight it. But so
why can't mention the case?
It's not equivalent to pleading no contest. No.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of pleading no contest. How's that? So they put in an Alford plea and then pissed off to West Virginia, which I'm from there, so I know exactly where they are because I'm from there. So I'm like, okay. So they left the state, and so they pretty much just walked away from this. They're not going to have anything to do with the kids anymore, and that's fine. But I'm telling y'all right now, you need to get that in writing. But they're still, the kids are under mandatory mental health, on a mandatory mental health cycle, so they can't leave until they've completed it. And so Rose is just stuck there. She's just stuck there,
Yeah.
It's terrible because it's got to be awful to try to. I can't imagine trying to hold down two homes in two different places. And oh god, I want to give up on things. I'm just a man.
Especially living in Maryland with the price of living up here.
Oh, I wouldn't live in Maryland. It costs too much money.
I mean, the cost of
My
living
grandparents
and
had to
all,
sell everything.
the place she's got, I couldn't raise two kids in that house or that apartment, whatever you want to call it,
That would drive
and
me
all,
crazy.
and pay that amount of money she's paying. I forget, it's something like $1,200 a
No,
month,
it's 11,
11 something a month, and the electric bill,
I think.
and her cell phone, and to keep the car going, and insurance for the automobile, and insurance. Thank God she doesn't smoke.
Hey, look.
Because cigarettes up there, the kind we smoke, were double what we pay down here.
It was like $19 for 2 packs. Like, what?
Yeah, well,
I need
yeah,
to go
Melinda was
back home.
saying she left the hotel because I know that they kept telling her, oh no, you're gonna go home after the next hearing, you can go home. Like, why? I don't understand why they kept saying that or making her think that, because then she's not gonna try to like go get an apartment and get established like they will eventually want her to do, but not tell her. Because I
They
would do
waited
this
last
too.
month.
They waited till the last minute, till almost the day they were getting ready to throw her out of the hotel because she didn't have the funds.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been crazy. I mean, it's. I don't know why they wouldn't just go. Here's what we need to do, and we're going to need you to do this, that, and the other, and not say things like, "Oh, after the next hearing, you can probably go home." And then she's there for a month in a hotel, and then she has the next hearing, and they're like, "No, we're going to need 5 to 6 more weeks." And I mean, it's just yanking her around. I don't know, and
That's why I call it being held hostage.
yeah, it really sounds like it.
Yeah, that's why I called it that, because when she was packed and ready to come home and thinking the kids were coming, they'd pop another one. And then she called us and told us she had to find an apartment. Then she called us and told us she had to do this, she had to do that. When she was working at the motel, she had a job. Half the time she had to walk to work because the bus only came in that area at a certain time.
Yeah.
So she had to walk to work. One day she walked to work in the pour down rain.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anybody's had to walk to work's been through that one. But so she's now she's basically stuck because the kids are on this mental health cycle that they have to complete before they can leave.
Yes, ma'am.
She's got 2 jobs. She's holding down 2 homes.
Both of them.
I don't know how she's
both
doing
jobs
it.
are part-time.
Well, yeah, because everywhere she goes, it's like, well, you're just leaving as soon as you get your kids and go home. So like I can understand why it would be really, really hard for her to find a full-time job, because you're just stuck. I don't think that you can donate clothes to the kids. I'm sorry, I'm trying to keep up with my chat. I think personally the bureaucrats are trying to save themselves, throwing Rose under the bus? Personally, yeah, that is what I think, because they knew about this for a year and they said nothing. They closed 2 investigations against them, and then 10 days later, 10 days after they closed the last investigation, then they opened another one back up on the same evidence and the same videos that they had 10 days before that. Yeah, so I'm not a fan of Frederick County Child Services. I know y'all probably don't want to say anything, but I'll say it. I'm not happy with this. That is very upsetting to me, to know that not even 2 weeks before they had been cleared of abuse. I'm just so angry. Like, how did that happen? Like, how did that happen? Oh God, it just makes me so mad. Sorry, I just get mad. Okay.
Well, Rose would not make it without people like you all out there that are listening to this, and you doing this
And Melinda and
screen, and Melinda, and people like
and
you
that
all,
guy with that lovely Australian
and her friend in Australia. I mean, she would not be able to survive without the people to talk to and communicate with her, and give her the support and the strength that she needs. You know, I can do nothing better than to thank God for the people out there that have stepped up and helped her, have been there for moral support. I have been there for her financial support.
Even though there's a gag order.
Has been there for all of this, and everybody that has the compassion and the caring for her, and Emma and Cody. And thank everyone out there. God bless all y'all.
Thank you. You know, that's a really good place to end it. I want to say thanks to everybody for coming. I really, really, really appreciate you guys coming, and I appreciate you being willing to answer what questions you can and try to clear some stuff up, because I know that, like I said, the caginess and trying to avoid questions and stuff, I'm sure it made a lot of people suspicious. I'm sure they were really worried that maybe something shady was going on with Rose, so they could, you know, it just looks off. I mean, it really did, but when she's under a gag order, I can kind of understand why she's trying to give you some kind of answer to ease your mind, but she really can't, you know?
Right.
And so I understand.
Well, she hurries up, and I don't mean to cut you off because I got to
No, you're fine. I just can't
go get my medicine, but I'm sorry. But I'm sure in between gag orders, she'll talk, because she hurried up and told us stop in between the gag order. You know?
Yeah. I kind of wish I could have grabbed her between the gag orders, to be honest, but I'm glad that you guys will come in and talk as much as you can, so that, you know, because I know that it's been hard. It's been a really long time, and I think that everybody's really frustrated. Yeah, I mean, everybody's really frustrated about why they're not home yet. And so, I mean, it's good to know that they're still investigating. There's still things that they have to do, and that the kids are on the mental health track. That's good to know. I mean, because that tells us both why they are still there, but it also tells us that they are getting intensive, much needed care. So that's good. I'm, you know, thank you again so much for coming.
Sorry? What we miss the most is the hugs and the family dinners and Christmas and birthday parties.
Oh, I
mean, we got a lot of catching up, but I miss, you know, just all of it, and it just tears at my heartstrings. Sometimes I'll sit and cry about it, and my daughter goes, "Mama, suck it up." Yeah. And she'll say, "Well, call me when you're done crying, and then we'll talk, because I don't want to cry with you." I'm like, okay. That's how I handle it. I cry about it, but
I can definitely understand that. All right. Again, I'd like to thank everybody that's here tonight, and if you guys want to say goodbye to everybody in the chat, go ahead and say bye.
Okay, bye everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye everybody. Thank you all.
And God bless you all.
God bless.
All right, everybody, y'all have a good night and enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you later.